Dear friends, greetings. Today in our studio we have honored guest Karina Yusupovna. Greetings. She's a teacher by her profession, and having such a profession, we know that Karina Yusupovna took many knowledge, gained many knowledge in various languages, in Russian, in Kazakh, in Uzbek. So now we would like to begin our broadcast with a little literature extract. Assalamu alaikum. It's an Islamic greeting. If it is translated from Arabic, it means I wish you freedom, welfare in your family, and health. These are the most important things. I would like to begin my speech with the words of our Muhammad, Prophet, with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I will read out first in Uzbek language. I love this language. I also translated into Kazakh, and also I translated these words into Russian. I think all parents, all grandparents, all people on the earth will certainly love this. If I translate it into Russian, it means that the knowledge is your friend in the desert. It's your support on the life path. It's your friend in loneliness. It's your support when you are sad. It's your guide when you don't have profession. It's an adornment when you're among people, and it's a weapon against enemies. These are such marvelous words. We can learn so much from the Prophet: to be kind, to be industrious, to be honest, to be just merciful, to love everything wonderful in life. Of course, a human is created for happiness. God has given us life in order for us to live, to create, and do good, and to sow good. Thank you very much. These are such wonderful words. Every word resounds inside of me. You know, I already inspired to think about conveying knowledge. I don't mean knowledge like mathematical knowledge or other sciences, but I mean knowledge of how to be a happy person, how to be a human with the capital letter H. What does it mean to be a human with capital letter H? It's very simple, actually. A person, a human with capital letter H, is the person who has spiritual, moral, and ethical values at a very high level. And regarding the transfer of knowledge, I also recalled an example from my life. Very often, there are such cases when we have children, and they think that if, for example, I give out my child into kindergarten, then to school, then to university, so I've done my job and I don't have anything to do. I'm already free. But is it really so? I would really like, Karima Yusupovna, could you please tell us what, in your opinion, the knowledge, the conveyance, transfer of knowledge to be a human, does this transfer begin? How does it happen? You know, it all begins with the family. A family is the place where the upbringing takes place. A child sees how parents interact with each other, how they work. You don't have to pay a lot of attention to the child, but you have to love each other within the family and value each other. And children, when they see it with their own eyes, they will just adopt this upbringing, and it will be inherent in them. This little grain will be inside of them. When they grow up, well, when they go to school, kindergarten, school, you know, you should spend at least just 15 minutes a day to ask a child whom he got friends with today.
добавляет еще ту изюминку, которую они должны были увидеть в будущем у своих детей. Вот тогда будет, я думаю, правильное, нормальное воспитание. Я иногда думаю, знаете, некоторые родители даже плачут, возмущаются. Мои дети такие, я им все сделал, купил машину, дом, квартиру. Они меня не любят. Они в свое время недостаточно любили своих детей. Давайте вспомним Крылова, баснописца русского, и Максима Горького. Жизнь и трудовую деятельность. Когда Крылову было 10 лет, умер отец, а в то время женщинам не надо было выходить на работу. Они голодовали. Десятилетний мальчик, знаете, он был образованный. Отец был военнослужащий, 25 лет он служил. И вот тогда этот мальчик...
The father was serving for 25 years old, and so the little boy, he decided to undertake the responsibility for the entire family. At that time, there were no computers, no equipment. He had to write everything down. So this 10-year-old child went to copy old documents. He was very literate. He knew a lot of things, and actually this literacy was given to him by his parents, and this way he managed to feed the family, and he grew himself up, he brought himself. And also I can recall Maxim Gorky. It's an elementary example. I won't talk about others, but he had a very hard life. When he was 5 years old, his father died, and they had to move to their grandparents, and he lost his mother when he was 10. And the grandfather got him out of the house. He sent him out of the house to feed himself. He didn't become a thief or a drug addict like nowadays. He didn't walk the bad path. He studied, he worked, he brought himself up and became a very famous writer. We can learn a lot from him. I think the main thing in the family, if we lay out this foundation in the right way, if we give this, grain, this little piece of love, mercy, and industriousness, our children will never be lost in this life, and they will never do mistakes, make mistakes in their life. Me as a teacher, I used to be a teacher, now I'm retired. My father used to be a teacher as well, and he told me that, sometimes we are lazy, we don't want to study, we don't want to work, we want to get everything in a finished form. But at that time, my father told me, daughter, please learn to fish. If you buy fish in the market, you can satisfy your hunger just one day. But if you learn how to fish, you will be satisfied your whole life. The whole life. We need to teach our children to fish, and they will be always satisfied, and they will never be a burden for you, and they will be feed you and your children also. These are such marvelous words. Yeah, these are wonderful words and a wonderful experience. Karima Yusupovna, you just said wonderful things and noted that everything is laid down in childhood, and the child gets imbued with this atmosphere, as people say, with mother's milk. I would like to expand on this topic which you've raised. I'm very thankful for you for that. But I would like to ask you a question. What prevents a person from growing such good grains, from being happy? What prevents? Yeah, what prevents people? What prevents people? Well, now we have such a global time which we live in, and sometimes when I go walk in the street or I'm babysitting my granddaughter, when I go to the supermarket, and I see how people just delve into this internet, even elderly people, they don't see anyone around. They just, delve into gadgets. All this, at a certain time, Time is should be treasured. When you should watch internet or read the book or pay attention to your children, you have to really monitor this time. If you pay attention even for 15 or 20 minutes a day, your kids, your family will be already wonderful. We don't value our time, in fact. Shireen, I actually thought about myself that I also need to use it at home. Yes, this lively communication. Karima Yusupovna mentioned that lively live communication is very important when a child comes back from school. Look into his eyes, feel his condition, ask him questions, what he has learned, whom he met during the day, what impressed him. And the child gets used to such communication because the grown-ups are interested in his condition, and on the contrary, he is interested in others' condition. So when you say about this, situation in the bus or public transportation when people are in gadgets, we really have lost the niceness, the pleasure of this mutual communication. Yes. And I also would like to add that many people, even here right now, sometimes my son is also delving into internet and example to find a babysitter for several hours, for a month, or half a year. And I you don't have to look for babysitters. There should be relatives, and you have to maintain good relationships with your relatives, with your neighbors. You need to go to visit your friends and relatives, and children will see how you treat others. If you go to see someone who's sick, you tell them good words, and children should see and hear this. This is the real upbringing. Neighbors invite you to a tea, invite him also, vice versa, at least once a year. Say hello to everyone. Ask them how they are, how they're healthy, how their children are. Ask how their job is, what their mood is, so that your child hears everything. And then tomorrow, when he grows up, he will give you these words and your neighbors and everyone else, and you won't have any problems. Yeah, and you don't have to hire babysitters because around you there will be plenty of wonderful neighbors who will support you. Don't hire a babysitter. You can leave your child with the neighbor because you know neighbor very well, but you don't know what kind of babysitter will be and how she will treat your child. So, Karima Yusupovna, does this mean that in our time it is much easier sometimes to hire a babysitter, kind of shift responsibility? At the same time, we are required to do some first step. We are required to say something good to our neighbor. We actually need to act ourselves, right? Yes, that's right. Girls, I can say right now the following. In our young age, when we were living with our parents, we didn't have any parents. Parents loved us. But when we marry, our life changes completely. And when we become mothers, we have even greater responsibility and we have to change even more for the better. We have to be stronger and we have to be more trustworthy, and you have to trust and respect all your relatives. This way, we should predict what kind of people we will talk to, communicate with, and children as well. There is a very wise folk expression. If you tell me who your friend is, I'll tell you who you are. I wish every one of us to be surrounded by good people, good neighbors, good friends, so that in order not to build 3-meter fences and gates, but we know that our neighbors are respected people. They will always help us and will never do us any harm. They will support us, they will help us, and they will respond to us and even protect us. This is
It was said wonderfully what you just mentioned, but if you would put it in another way, that working on oneself by absorbing the wonderful things that surrounds you and just only the wonderful part. If there's a lot of that, the person only lives by that. And so it's much easier to go away from the consumer format to the creation format, creative society. So it starts from a person, and a person is a family. So there's seven of me from Russian, which is sounds like seven of me. It's a family. So it's you. You might never be afraid for your child that just can't step outside of your loan or house. You would know that he would be okay, and there's nothing might be wrong with him. That what kind of people will be surrounding the child, was what kind of people will he or she meet, and we will just know that all of the people are the same as I am. And so what comes is that in the creative society, we're coming to this concrete thing, which is the creative society where everything starts from a person who is happy, um, self-fulfilled, um, wary of oneself, that is aimed for only goodness and creation. Since it's all so clear to what you said, right? And the word creator is really close to creationalist. Means we need to only create something good, wonderful, and best for people and kids to know what are we creating, what are we establishing, and for them to get to learn from us and this society that we have around us, like neighbors, relatives, distant relatives and distant neighbors, when they see what you do, they will always approach you with the same approach, with the same goodness and kindness. You will treat them in the same way, with the same love and respect and support. And right now, if you do something and you want to buy something, how much you give. So the numbers is not the thing. The money will never help you be more happy. You can only make you happy for a second or a minute, but with them you will live nearby, right? In this creative society, you will live they surrounded by wonderful people, and you will be concerning yourself as a happy person because you will be surrounded by wonderful, good people. You won't be afraid, and you will never be bored, and it will be safe for you, and you will feel yourself needed by somebody. When you will feel that you are needed by somebody, that you will be healthy, you will be strong, and you will be proud. This is what I think. So if I can ask this question, you mentioned here that it actually touched me very deeply, and I feel that you have such a wonderful piece of experience in your life, and you've met this before, this wonderful that you've given other people in advance, or in exchange you get something even better. We have the wonderful quote from the Prophet Muhammad on the Uzbek language. I had such a wonderful satisfaction from that, and you might also mention it in Kazakh language. So you had such a wonderful experience. Could you give this example, the experience when somebody um, makes us sad, we think, why did he or she said this to me? Why I didn't reply to him in that on that way? You need to forget about it. You have to be more wise and healthier. In a healthy body, a healthy spirit. This is why it's mentioned in the public. I also had sometimes why was put it that way or that way. This person was educated, has enough experience or something to remove yourself from that. You just take a book, read something, just read throughout. So the words of the prophets, just go for that. Everything will go away. You don't even need a doctor. There's no need for that in that case. You will have such a satisfaction from that, and your heart will be safe. Then your thoughts will be good. You will want to work and do something better, something more wonderful. to give kids more love. In my practice, I've actually practiced that. As a teacher, I think I understand our guests. Right now, she gives an example how she went out of the situations when maybe there was disagreements or arguments. She just went for love. She didn't pay attention to everything that causes negative things in a person. She just removed attention to the wonderful part of creation where she got wonderful information and everything. As far as I understand, this is the wonderful thing. So that all those negative that you just need to go to positive. I've never actually used medicines or healthcare product. My sisters, they say, oh, it's pain here or head or something. You don't know how to love. You get sad and argue. Don't say bad words. Just love this person even more. Do good. Do wonderful. They won't understand you today. He will understand you day after. You need to forgive this person. Mention only good and wonderful deeds just to remember when you were 18 or 20, when you were in love, when you were trying to, what were your favorite poems? When we remember these wonderful songs that when you get to remember, it's really you get younger. You remember the good ones, and all of that bad things are going to the background instead of being in the front, and just the love actually heals you. Love inspires, love heals, love gives you wings and gives you power to create something more wonderful and good. It's a living example when we have that in empowered, and alongside her life she understood that the main treatment is love. Just love and love. Loving yourself, your friend, your kids, your grandchildren, give them attention, and for the neighbor, even if he's bad, just say him three wonderful words for 3 days, and he will treat you wonderfully then, and he will love you as well. Such a wonderful pieces of advice and wonderful quotes, and they are really simple, right? And every single person, independently of where he lives and which part of the world, in Canada, Netherlands, or in Kazakhstan, we can use that every single day, and we can actually make ourselves just a slightly bit better. It's so much wonderful things that packed in here, and those of that life experience that was presented by for us by Karina Yusupovna, it really touches the concept of the creative society, especially. I cannot be silent here, especially with this sixth foundation of creative society. For those of you that don't know what it means, they can get to know to this article on the website ALLATRA Unites and read it out, all the eight foundation of creative society and three stages of its enforcement. Let us read out the sixth foundation. The sixth foundation's name is the development of personality. Every single person in the creative society has the right to comprehensive development and personal fulfillment. Education should be free and equally accessible to all, creating conditions and expanding opportunities for a human being to implement his or her creative abilities and talents. Just look at how wonderful it sounds. I, by being a teacher, even in retired, how much it touches what you've mentioned with your worldview and everything. Could you tell us that? Okay, where do I start here? Y- Yeah, the person needs to have a right to develop. For a person to be developed, he has to do so. He has to work. That's the first thing. The person is being born. Every child is born with a talent. But this talent, we're supposed to see and develop that. We're supposed to direct him. Every single person and a child is being born with a talent. and somebody can do something. Somebody can be a poet. Somebody can be just a wonderful plumber or a driver or a translator or interpreter, and somebody a good teacher or an artist or a singer. They are not falling from the skies, those celebrities. For example, in Kazakhstan, we have Dimash Bilgenov, a young person, but I'm so fascinated by his talent. But still, in his talent, there is an art of his parents from the young ages. They've seen what he was able, and he conquered all over the world. This is how talented this person was. And those men and women are so plentiful in our life. We can have the Boot again, or the singer of Kazakhstan, the singing bird of Kazakhstan people, and she is a wonderful woman. She has such a unique voice. I think she's unique. I just love her as a woman, as a grandma. She is a happy person, but she's really shy and humble, and also she's a happy person because to become her, the path was opened by her parents, by her relatives, or the one who came before her, who helped her become such strong. Speaking about the Nazarbayev, who is Nursultan Nazarbayev, do you know that in such complicated time in our time, in 1991 till 2000, he has built Nur Sultan, the city Nur Sultan or Astana, such a wonderful and beautiful city. I've been there once many, many years ago, but I would really like to see it once. All of the world know that on the map there is the capital of Kazakhstan, Nur Sultan. Can we be fascinated by that? Yes, this is how wonderful of a person he is. To become this kind of person, probably his relatives or the one who came before him supported him. He wanted himself to become a wonderful person for the country, for the people, the real patriot of his motherland. Here, in the sixth foundation, the development of personality, there is such a like one line. The next thing that education should be free and equally accessible to all, and creating conditions to exploit opportunities for every human being. And so you mentioned the people who found their niche and were able to develop, and what can you do for every single person to be able to go with their talent, go with their guts, and be educated for free in a creative society as we have it, a scientific way that it's all possible. And from scientific point of view, how do you see that in a creative society? What's closest to you to as the teacher, as the mother, as the citizen? When I lived in Uzbekistan, I won in the auction 3 hectares of land. Yes. Yeah. Um, but I have a brother who has 4 sons. For them not to do nothing, for they were learning how to work and love and being fascinated by seeing the result of their labor, for them to be good. For them, in such a complicated time in 1990s, 1996, 1997, and then I asked people to help me, the one who are homeless or that don't have to work. I invite them, one person, one man, and they said, we need to water the 3 hectare. We are not able to do so. The land isn't even, and we need to water because we have the high fertility for and everything else. So that person, uneducated, are saying, Karim, look, you have to the water, to answer the water. He says, well, what you have to, and he showed how to need to move the water pipe to have such a small lakes for them to actually get to the places where it doesn't reach. So I also learned a lot from him. What do you mean to move the water? I know as a teacher to move from the waiting, which is the person who leads a child, and when to move the water, I actually learned it from the Christian that, but that doesn't mean to move the water. And after that, I have a second, well, not to children, to the plants as well. They are also receive, they are also need love and attention from us. For them to get a good result, we have to love them as well as children. Then we will have a great harvest. And to all the Christian, to all the Muslim that are actually doing something and feed us, to, such a, I bow to them. So that this you need to pay attention to living, to things that not live, to your love and to attention. You have to love and have labor.
I also wanted to mention that Karima Yusupovna has such an interesting, poem. She will read it out. Remember, you told me? Yeah, by Alisher Navai. Yeah, I have it. It's a Turkish poet, Nazim Ahitmet. If I'm not burning, if you're not burning, if he's not burning, if all of us are not burning, then who will disseminate darkness? We don't need to live in darkness. Wonderful poem. Thank you very much. What you've mentioned, what you said about education is really very important, and it's a component, an integral component of a creative society because it relates to humanity. People should be educated, and education should be free and accessible throughout the world. And this actually what Karima Yusupovna has told us today. Yes, education, knowledge are very important. Why? Because all people are equal, regardless of whether they are in Netherlands or Kazakhstan or Toronto, Canada, but everyone wants to be happy. Yes, to be happy. And so everything should be done in order to ensure that people are happy. And education is a component which helps a person to get a good job and ensure comfort and wealth. So, to manifest our talents, like a person, like a farmer who even didn't have a higher education, like university education, but he actually educated in his profession to such an extent that he can move and enter water into soil in order to nourish the plants with this moisture, in order to bring good harvest, and that will rejoice, make many people rejoice. This is such a good talent. This is actually what should be in each of us, that we need to just give ourselves to our favorite affair, to what we do. And this is inherent in this creative society. Basically, we want to live in this, right? And this is what our creative society and life should be look like. For sure, I agree. For me, the words by Karima Yusupovna about the fact that everything should be done with love, they are very inspiring for me, because on every broadcast, every participant comes and brings in a grain of kindness, love, and good, which he or she shares, and we get it from him or her. It's just a gift, and it's kind of a sin not to take this gift. But so today, I again get replenished with this grain of love, happiness, and I carry it further. And by getting filled with this light, you can share it with others. You should share it with others. You should begin sharing in your family, in your little cell of society. Then you should carry it to your neighbors, relatives, co-workers, and even to people you don't know in the street. The main thing is, like Karima Yusupovna said, we need to disseminate the dark. Thank you very much. Also, what is wonderful about Karima Yusupovna's words, We don't need to listen to the words in our head that somebody has done something bad against us, but we need to listen to our feelings. Yes, we need to listen to our feelings, and when we feel it, we really gain power and we get ignited with love towards this person because we understand his condition. We understand that he does something bad because he's imposed. He just doesn't know himself yet. And living in love, in feelings, it's the most wonderful thing, and we shouldn't forget about this. Thank you very much, girls. But unfortunately, the time of our broadcast is running to an end. And traditionally, we give the floor to our guest at the end. And Karima Yusupovna, what would be your last words or message to your people who watching us? Perhaps somewhere abroad, there are people from Uzbekistan who know their language, and I would like to finish my speech with Alisher Navai's words. I wanted to translate it, but I'm not sure that it's a precise translation.
Я перевод.
I won't tell you the translation, but approximately it means that your condition is yourself, your crown is yourself, the throne is yourself. You live yourself, but what expects you in the future, it is only you who know. These are such deep words, really deep. I suggest that I recommend everyone to read Gazelles by Alisher Navai. They are really wonderful. Thank you very much. Dear friends, the topic of our today's broadcast was A Person is Born for Happiness. And Karima Yusupovna has given so many nice quotes and described her personal example, which evidence that a human is indeed born for happiness. Thank you very much for your attention and see you on next broadcast. See you, everyone. Goodbye.